Okay. MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Oh Allah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ba'da a'udhu billahi min shaitani rajim. Bismillahi rahmani rahim. Mhm. Okay, so mashallah. So we are up and thus far, we have been trying to keep up with the thematics. We're just a little bit behind. But then also there's these very um, important places that we have to make sure that we and again that is not saying that what we're not covering is not important, but again it's just there's certain places that need to be highlighted as we're moving through this month of Ramadan, because the reminder is so extremely beneficial and also so extremely necessary. So in Surah Al-A'raf, in the 172nd ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا أَخَذَ excuse me, وإذ أخذ ربك من بني آدم من ظهورهم ذرياتهم وأشهدهم على أنفسهم ألست بربكم. And this ayah is known as the ayatul alast, from this portion of the ayah right here, alastu. And so when your Rabb, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Rabbuka. So when your Rabb took from the children of Adam min min dhuhurihim, from their loins, literally it's from their backs. There's a little bit of medically, mashallah, the doctors can go into and explain to actually um, where the seminal fluid and so on and so forth actually originates from, and so on and so forth. But we're not going to get into that here. Dhurriyatuhum, their progeny, was shadahum ala anfusihim. And here's the point. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this wa ashhadahum. Ashhadahum made them to testify, made them to bear witness. So who is the them? We are the them. We are the they. So each and every man, woman, and child, every descendant of Adam alayhi salam, all the progeny of Adam alayhi salam, and all of its diversity, of all of its different shapes and sizes, colors and nationalities, languages, and so on and so forth. Every last one of us, without any exception, وَأَشْهَدُهُمْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Rabb, made us testify and bear witness against whom? Because usually when you're testifying, you're bearing witness to something. There is uh, who are you, like, what is the proceedings here? So if we think of this as a legal proceeding, so if you think of this as being in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so who are we testifying against? And ala anfusihim, it is upon ourselves. So this is against ourselves. So it's kind of like, do you swear that you're telling the truth? They say, yes, I'm telling the truth. So who am I testifying against? I'm swearing something and I'm testifying to something, but who am I testifying against? It is upon myself. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the verb form of if'ad. So here, washhadu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to this is making us to bear witness. And now, what is the question? What is it that we're bearing witness to? Alastu bi rabbikum? Am I not your Rabb? And here, your it's not saying, am I not your Ilah? Am I not your God? Um, am I not any other the ala kulli shayin qadir, or Sami' or Alim or Hakim or Alim or Ghafoor? Here specifically, Rabb. So this again, you see again, as even as we thus far as we've been going over the thematics and this whole issue of rububiyyah and ubudiyya, it keeps having to be highlighted. We have to keep highlighting it. This is the whole point of our existence, and this relationship between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alastu bi rabbikum? Am I not your Rabb? Am I not your master? Am I not the one that that brought you in existence? Am I not the one that is sustaining you? Am I not the one who gives you your orders and dictates your life for you, and your existence for you, has established your reality for you? Am I not the one that you have to answer to? Do I not have complete and total control and dominance over you? Aren't you the abd? Because the by when you're admitting one, by default you're admitting the other. So when we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our Rabb, by default I'm saying that I am the abd. So it's this, it's the it's the if you say the light is off, then by default, then you know that it's not on. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is my Rabb, then by default I have to be the abd. I can't say that Allah is my Rabb and I'm not the abd. So and essentially we're admitting and we're testifying to two things, and the thing that is brought to the forefront, of course, is the admission that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rabb. Qalu, they said. Who said? We said. All of us said. Bala. Bala is used, it's like saying, it's not just yes, it's like saying absolutely, of course. So that when you're using bala, it's like saying uh, um, like, is there any other possibility? Like, it's like it's almost like, is this um, uh, what kind of question? Like, this is a question that only has one answer. So bala. So alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala shahidina, that we have borne witness, that we have testified to this fact that you are our Rabb. An taqulu, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains, an taqulu yawm al-qiyamati inna kunna an hadha ghafilin, unless that you should say when on the day of judgment. So, unless you should say on the day of judgment that we were from amongst those who were oblivious, we didn't know, we were heedless, we were unaware of this. So, what is happening is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right from the very beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the whole of the humanity, is establishing this essential truth and this essential reality in regards to the existence of the human being, that your point and your purpose is to be the abd. ما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. So the whole point of our existence as human beings is the ibadah of Allah. It is the obedience of Allah. It is the recognition, and then the not just the recognition, but also the along with that acknowledgement comes practical application and the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the Rabb. And this is that question where people ask, well, what about those people who Islam has not reached them? And what happens to them? So if they die, what happens to them? Of course, we always say, with the exception of shirk, we know that shirk is the unforgivable sin. Okay, but then when this is brought to the forefront, it's like, okay, well, shirk is the unforgivable sin, and these people are engaged in shirk. But what if Islam did not reach them? What if they're in some jungle or some um, uh, you know some portion of the world which may not be touched or accessible, by technology and other people, outsiders. So this reality still remains with the ruh. So this is something. It is part of the fitrah of the human being. It is part of the natural disposition of the human being. It is part of who we are. So this essential aspect of our existence. This is part of who we are. Alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala shahidina. And this is resides in each and every one of us. Now, the problems or the difficulties that the human being may have accessing this reality or acquiescing to this reality, subjecting themselves to it, submitting to it, that's a whole nother thing. Those things that get put in the way, those things, those moments that they have, again, because this a lot of this is what we're talking about here, and this is the reason why only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can judge. We'll touch on that in just a second, but only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can judge. And the reason for that is that all of this is part of an internal conversation, an internal process which is taking place, because you and I, yes, there is our we verbally articulate things, and we have expressions and micro expressions, and we have what do you call it, tonal reflection, what do you call it, second time, but when we use different tonal modulations and everything to indicate something, like, so for instance, if I say, if I go, really, 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 right? So it's the same word, but it's the everything else that goes around it that is giving you like, okay, he means something different when he's saying it. So that's all external. But what's happening internally now, this is something which is private, is very intimate, and there's a lot that is happening internally. And this is one of those things also when that sami'na wa ata'na, that along with this listening as what's also being kind of alluded to is this silence, and the point of remaining in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is coming at the very end of this surah. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to bring up at the end of this surah. So the whole point of here is being conscious and being aware of what's happening internally. So within this internal process, each and every individual and various points, um, some would suggest that in the tafsir that now that this happens 2 times a year, where the person once or twice a year, where the person is being tested. But anyways, regardless, that there are moments that are taking place within each and every human being where now they are either um, where this truth is coming to the forefront, and now they are either accepting it or they are rejecting it. The whatever basis they are rejecting it, that is between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the external world, you and I, we are only responsible for, and we can only judge based on outward appearances. We have no idea what is going on in the heart of the individual. And that's why I said we'll be back to this in just a second. And that's the reason why when somebody dies, we cannot say that that person has gone to Jannah, and we cannot say that this person has gone to the hellfire. We Because ultimately we don't know what resides in the heart of that person. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as far as what was happening with those individuals that were promised Jannah, or those individuals specifically that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they are destined for the hellfire, that their places in the hellfire, that is from wahi, that is from divine revelation. But we don't have the benefit of wahi anymore. So now, is a person in Jannah or is a person in Jahannam? For that, we remain silent. We have there the external indicators. Of course, like if somebody dies reciting kalima, um, that is an amazing indicator. If a person dies in sajda, also, mashallah, we like to a person dying during this month of Ramadan. That is also a good indicator for a Muslim. But even for a non-Muslim, you can't say we don't know what people harbor in their hearts in terms of belief in kufr, because there could be somebody who's a secret Muslim, and I think we've talked about this before. You encounter people that are Muslim and don't even know it. They're Muslim and they don't even know it. So when you talk to them about, you come across people and they start asking you questions about Islam, and like, oh yeah, and you ask them, say, so yeah, so we just worship one God, no partners, sons, daughters, associates, and they're like, yeah, I believe that too. And then you say, well, we believe in all of the prophets, even Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, that he was a prophet. We just believe that also that Muhammad is the final prophet. And they're like, oh yeah, yeah, I read about Muhammad. Yeah, I believe he's a prophet too. And you like go through the whole, and then like it's kind of like mashallah, it's downhill from there. So the day of judgment and angels and the books, and then come to find out, I was like, well, this is what you have to believe in order to be a Muslim. They're like, well, I believe all that already. I was like, so am I a Muslim? It's like, well, now you have to take your shahada. But if they were to die in that state, and they show up in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Yom Qiyamah. Now, here we don't know that they're a Muslim. Their family members don't know that they're a Muslim. So they may be buried as a Christian or as a Jew or as a whatever. But on Yom Qiyamah, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will resurrect them, that is within the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, we only know what happens as far as in the external world itself. So we have to be very careful about saying who is going to paradise and who's going to Jannah and who is going to Jahannam. There are the indicators, but we cannot say with absolute surety. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his rahmah and his maghfirah, that Allah ta'ala make us from amongst the people of Jannah and save us from being amongst the people of the hellfire. So now here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now removing excuses. So the whole point of all of this, the whole testimony, alastu bi rabbikum, qalu bala shahidina. The whole point, an taqulu yawm al-qiyamati inna kunna an hadha ghafilin. So number one, I didn't know. And number two, أو تقولوا إنما أشرك آباؤنا من قبل وكنا ذرية من بعدهم أفتهلكنا بما فعل المبطلون. Now, that, or that you should say that we were that our forefathers before us, that we are from their progeny. We came after them, and because they are the ones who committed shirk, are you now going to destroy us? Are you going to punish us because of the fact that they were on batil? So now, first excuse, I don't know. Second excuse, blame somebody else. It's not my fault. And it's very interesting because of the importance that we put on family in this world. But here on Yom Al Qiyamah and in the Akhirah, now you see that the now those how important those ties actually are, because now it's no, 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 it's my father's fault. It's my father, my grandfather, it's my parents, my grandparents. It's all their fault. So the reason why I went astray and the reason why I was engaged in kufr and I was engaged in shirk is because of them. So it's their fault. Punish them, don't punish me. So these two things, and if you think about it, with your average 2 year old, your average 2 year old picks up on these same two excuses. If something happens in the house and you ask them, like, who did this? And they say, "Oh, I don't know." And the other thing they'll say is, like, it wasn't me. If there's a sibling, mashallah, all the better. He did it. She did it. Right. So these two, and that's at the tender age of two. So you see right from this whole making excuses, justification, trying to find a way out. How do I extricate myself from this situation, from being held responsible and being blameworthy? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has removed both of these seemingly potential excuses from the minds and the hearts of the human being by this ayah of Quran. So now we have been informed, and now we are aware of it, and we know that we are all, and this again at the end of Surah Al-An'am, that we cannot bear the burden of anybody else. That you and I, that we are responsible for our actions, and that we are going to be held accountable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's not about excuses. If there is a valid reason, that's another thing. So for instance, what's a valid reason? A valid reason is, say for instance, if somebody is mentally deficient or mentally handicapped, then that is a valid reason. Something that is outside of their control and outside of their realm of responsibility, then that is something totally different. And then at the very end of the ayah, very quickly, inshallah, at the very end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ فِي نَفْسِكَ تَضَرُّعًا وَخِيفَةً وَدُونَ الْجَهْرِ مِنَ الْقَوْلِ بِالْغُدُوِّ وَالْأَصَالِ وَلَا تَكُن مِّنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. So remember, وَذْكُرْ, again, here it is. So this dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we've been ordered, remember, do the dhikr of your Rabb. Um, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu an, the mufassir of the Ummah, he says that this particular ayah, the dhikr that Allah Ta'ala is specifically mentioning here, is in regards to the Quran itself. So wadhkur, so read the Quran, and by reading the Quran, you are doing the dhikr of your Rabb, because it is kalam Allah. Now, and then three types, fi nafsika, and we really don't have the time here, but fi nafsika, so literally within yourselves, tadarru'an wa khifatan. So it should be when you're remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within yourselves, tadarru'an is this humble, submissive humility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this, and there's different ways of explaining this, but that's a topic, and actually that's a whole program in and of itself when we're talking about the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and different forms of the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa khifatan, and khifatan is now like in a very very low voice, and wadun al jahri min al qawl. So, and then now this is when you're, even when you are reciting out loud, that it should not be something which is like yelling, right? It shouldn't be with a raised voice. And the point that the mufassirin that they bring forth is that you have to remember that this, number one, that the weight of what you are doing, and the weight of the amal that you are engaged in. You are reciting the Quran. It is kalam Allah, and you are doing it for hopefully for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're doing it in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that humility, this as it says here in the ayah, tadarru'an, this humble submissiveness in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it should temper our voice so that we aren't like yelling or raising our voice. It's like being in front of the king and now raising your voice or yelling in front of the king. And even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us not even to raise our voice, and ordered the Sahaba not to raise their voices in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What does this say about the Rabb of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? بالغدو والآصال ولا تكن من الغافلين. And then the opposite of being engaged in the dhikr of Allah is being in a state of ghafla. And again, this is primarily in reference to here, like this whole topic, this ayah itself. And there's a lot of places in Surah Al-A'raf that are like this, where you can take a one ayah or a couple of ayah, and basically, mashallah, you can do a whole hour long program very easily. And even after that hour is finished, you would still have some things that you haven't touched on and haven't gone over in any great detail. So here, the when we are not in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we are in a state of ghafla. And you could also say that when you're in the dhikr of Allah, that when you're saying subhanallah, that it does require that we are conscious of what we're saying. So this is not to say that there is no benefit to engaging in the dhikr of Allah when we are not consciously present, meaning that there is no awareness of what we're saying in our hearts, because hopefully that dhikr, which is jahri, that which is out loud, that we're doing with our tongues, after a time, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, by Allah's rahmah and fadl, that it will have an impact upon our hearts as well. But the goal is supposed to be that when we're reading Quran and when we're doing any act of ibadah, and mind you that the whole of our lives is supposed to be, we're supposed to be engaged in the ibadah of Allah, the obedience of Allah, that we should never be in a state of ghafla. We should never be oblivious of Allah and heedless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the orders of Allah and the prohibitions of Allah. Thus, we should never be heedless of the life of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We should constantly be looking at the footsteps of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and seeing where we are to place our next fragile footstep ourselves. Inna ladina inda rabbika la yastakbiruna. So that in undoubtedly those who with their Rabb, that these are the ones that are with the Rabb, that la yastakbiruna, that they are not arrogant, they are not boastful, they are not proud, their egos have not overwhelmed them from engaging in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they do the tasbih of Allah, wa yusabbihuna. They do the tasbih, say subhanallah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again with this consciousness, not in a state of ghafla. وَلَهُ يَسْجُدُونَ. And for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they go into a state of sajda, which is a position of complete submissiveness. And also, so there's a spiritual submissiveness, and there is a psychological and a mental intellectual submissiveness, and then there's the spiritual submissiveness. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from amongst them. This is also an eye of sajda, and there's a whole, mashallah, um, again, it's a whole nother about this sajda, which is coming at the end of the surah. And then real quick, in closing, in Surah Al-Anfal, the transition here, as we're moving again with the grain of thematics. Um, the What happened is that in Surah Al-A'raf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the hostility and the difficulty and the plots and plans and everything, and the patience that the Sahaba with their Rasul, with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they had to tolerate and they went through. As we mentioned before. So all of these difficulties, and then after this, Surah Al-Anfal goes into what takes place now with Badr, and after the Battle of Badr. So this was the first physical confrontation and physical engagement between the believers, the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the non-Muslims, and what took place afterwards with the ghanima, or the spoils of war, the impact that had upon them. And this is that transition. This is that flow between one surah and the next surah, inshallah. And we will continue tomorrow evening, and we will try to. I will try. I'm not going to make any promises, but I will try, inshallah, to at least to keep up with the thematics a little bit, and so try to cover the next two transitions from surah to surah. Bidhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan jaza. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. يا مثبت القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك، يا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك. اللهم لا سهل إنما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل حزنا إذا شئت سهلا. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا، وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. برحمتك نستغيث. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, today I will be reciting the first quarter of the 11th juz. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يعتذرون إليكم إذا رجعتم إليهم، قل لا تعتذروا لن نؤمن لكم قد نبأنا الله من أخباركم، وسيرى الله عملكم ورسوله، ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. سيحلفون بالله لكم إذا انقلبتم إليهم لتعرضوا عنهم، فأعرضوا عنهم إنهم رجس ومأواهم جهنم جزاء بما كانوا يكسبون. يحلفون لكم لترضوا عنهم، فإن ترضوا عنهم فإن الله لا يرضى عن القوم الفاسقين. الأعراب أشد كفرا ونفاقا وأجدر ألا يعلموا حدود ما أنزل الله على رسوله، والله عليم حكيم. ومن الأعراب من يتخذ ما ينفق مغرما ويتربص بكم الدوائر، عليهم دائرة السوء، والله سميع عليم. ومن الأعراب من يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر ويتخذ ما ينفق قربات عند الله وصلوات الرسول، ألا إنها قربة لهم، سيدخلهم الله في رحمته، إن الله غفور رحيم. والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه وأعد لهم جنات تجري تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا ذلك الفوز العظيم. وممن حولكم من الأعراب منافقون ومن أهل المدينة مرضوا على النفاق لا تعلمهم نحن نعلمهم سنعذبهم مرتين ثم يردون إلى عذاب عظيم وآخرون اعترفوا بذنوبهم خلطوا عملا صالحا وآخر سيئا عسى الله أن يتوب عليهم إن الله غفور رحيم. خذ من أموالهم صدقة تطهرهم وتزكيهم بها وصل عليهم إن صلاتك سكن لهم والله سميع عليم. ألم يعلموا أن الله هو يقبل التوبة عن عباده ويأخذ الصدقات وأن الله هو التواب الرحيم. وقل اعملوا فسيرى الله عملكم ورسوله والمؤمنون وستردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. وآخرون مرجون لأمر الله إما يعذبهم وإما يتوب عليهم والله عليم حكيم. والذين اتخذوا مسجدا ضرارا وكفرا وتفريقا بين المؤمنين وإرصادا لمن حارب الله ورسوله من قبل وليحلفن إن أردنا إلا الحسنى والله يشهد إنهم لكاذبون. لا تقم فيه أبدا لمسجد أسس على التقوى من أول يوم أحق أن تقوم فيه رجال يحبون أن يتطهروا والله يحب المطهرين. أفمن أسس بنيانه على تقوى من الله ورضوان خير أم من أسس بنيانه على شفا جرف حار فانهار به في نار جهنم والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. لا يزال بنيانهم الذي بنوا ريبة في قلوبهم إلا أن تقطع قلوبهم والله عليم حكيم. إن الله اشترى من المؤمنين أنفسهم وأموالهم بأن لهم الجنة يقاتلون في سبيل الله فيقتلون ويقتلون
وعدا عليه حقا في التوراة والإنجيل والقرآن ومن أوفى بعهده من الله فاستبشروا ببيعكم الذي بايعتم به وذلك هو الفوز العظيم. التائبون العابدون الحامدون السائحون الراكعون الساجدون الآمرون بالمعروف والناهون عن المنكر والحافظون لحدود الله وبشر المؤمنين. ما كان للنبي والذين آمنوا أن يستغفروا للمشركين ولو كانوا أولي قربى من بعد ما تبين لهم أنهم أصحاب الجحيم. وما كان استغفار إبراهيم لأبيه إلا عن موعدة وعدها إياه فلما تبين له أنه عدو لله تبرأ منه إن إبراهيم لأواه حليم. وما كان الله ليضل قوما بعد إذ هداهم حتى يبين لهم ما يتقون إن الله بكل شيء عليم. إن الله له ملك السماوات والأرض يحيي ويميت وما لكم من دون الله من ولي ولا نصير. لقد تاب الله على النبي والمهاجرين والأنصار الذين اتبعوه في ساعة العسرة من بعد ما كاد يزيغ قلوب فريق منهم ثم تاب عليهم إنه بهم رءوف رحيم. وعلى الثلاثة الذين خلفوا حتى إذا ضاقت عليهم الأرض بما رحبت وضاقت عليهم أنفسهم وظنوا أن لا ملجأ من الله إلا إليه ثم تاب عليهم ليتوبوا إن الله هو التواب الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. ما كان لأهل المدينة ومن حولهم من الأعراب أن يتخلفوا عن رسول الله ولا يرغبوا بأنفسهم عن نفسه ذلك بأنهم لا يصيبهم ظمأ ولا نصب ولا مخمصة في سبيل الله ولا يطؤون موطئا يغيظ الكفار ولا ينالون من عدو نيلا إلا كتب لهم به عمل صالح إن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين ولا ينفقون نفقة صغيرة ولا كبيرة ولا يقطعون واديا إلا كتب لهم ليجزيهم الله أحسن ما كانوا يعملون وما كان المؤمنين لينفروا كافة فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون يا أيها الذين آمنوا قاتلوا الذين يلونكم من الكفار وليجدوا فيكم غلظة واعلموا أن الله مع المتقين وإذا ما أنزلت سورة فمنهم من يقول أيكم زادته هذه إيمانا فأما الذين آمنوا فزادتهم إيمانا وهم يستبشرون وأما الذين في قلوبهم مرض فزادتهم رجسا إلى رجسهم وماتوا وهم كافرون أولا يرون أنهم يفتنون في كل عام مرة أو مرتين ثم لا يتوبون ولا هم يذكرون وإذا ما أنزلت سورة نظر بعضهم إلى بعض هل يراكم من أحد ثم انصرفوا صرف الله قلوبهم بأنهم قوم لا يفقهون لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم فإن تولوا فقل حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم صدق الله العظيم
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين السلام عليكم
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا